While the Chicago Bulls could not secure a win yesterday against the Memphis Grizzlies, we're going to talk about how the young Bulls continue to show the needed growth this season for them to carve out a role for themselves. We're also talking about Ayo Dosunmu being added to the growing list of Chicago Bulls players with little nagging injuries and ask, should we be more concerned about it? We're going to get to all that plus the mailbag right after this.
The following is a Breaks Media podcast.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content. But before the content, man, did y'all hear the new intro music? We also got new outro music, so make sure. I know I've been playing it on the last couple of live streams, but we have you heard it kind of more in full now. The new intro music is really good. We may even be working on a new intro video at some time going on top of the new one we just created. But with that said, I wanted to start off this episode talking about Ayo Dosunmu and him being added to the list of injuries. Now, we know Coby White, Jalen Smith missed yesterday's game as well. We'll get into that in a little bit. Ayo Dosunmu started yesterday's game, but, did not make it throughout the game as they end up sitting him with an apparent shoulder injury. Now, I don't think this is anything serious. We haven't heard a lot about it. We haven't heard anything that points towards it being anything a little bit more serious that we need to be hugely concerned about. But it does, just bring about, the fact that the injury list is growing for the Bulls. This is a Bulls team that is still trying to kind of figure out their rhythm and their process together, which, brings about more question as well. And it's just more about the reps, right? We know what Ayo Dosunmu is bringing to this Bulls team. He's going to be a huge, important key factor for this Bulls team coming into this year. And you can just see in the times that he's played so far, the energy is different when Ayo Dosunmu's out there. On top of Ayo just being a way more poised and polished player as well so far in this preseason game. Like, Ayo understands his spots now. And I don't think that's something that we had from Ayo Dosunmu in his first 2 years in the league. He developed that over the course of last season. Not only understanding his spots, but understanding when and where he can use physicality versus finesse to get to the rim versus a specific other players in the league as well. So, that's really good. But overall, it just comes down to just these things piling up for the Chicago Bulls. This is still a team that's still trying to figure out its balance and its rotation together. And you want your guys out there healthy. Now, it's preseason as well, and I'm sure that a lot of these injury things of players sitting is just the Bulls being precautious when it comes down to their players because, you don't want to risk it all in preseason. And so while, yes, preseason is there to help players get reps, help work out some kinks in your offense, those type of things, it's still one of those things where you can make a reason and why it's okay for you not to be playing, a lot of your big players, especially if they have any type of injury. And I think that's what it comes down to with Coby White and Jalen Smith as well. If this was a regular season game, I have no doubt that both those players probably would have played. Now, Coby White, with him having it being more of a groin type injury, you want to be more cautious with that because that can go from something very little to you missing a couple of games with it easily with that tightness. So, the Bulls are doing right by having to get in caution when it comes down to that. And Jalen Smith, it was said yesterday by Stacey King during the game, if it was a regular season game, Jalen Smith would have been out there. But I think overall, there's always going to be some doubt from the Bulls fandom when it comes to little injuries like this because the Bulls haven't been the most forthcoming and open when it comes to injuries, right? They have always kind of, heard some things like we've heard things like, oh, it's not anything major, then the player misses 2 weeks, right? So, it comes down to that. But, overall, nothing to really worry about too much as of right now. Of course, this is something that lingers on as we get closer to the season, maybe. The Ayo Dosunmu one is just because it's the one that we've heard the least amount about. We're waiting and seeing and hearing anything from Lonzo if it's anything major or not. I honestly think maybe not hearing anything is probably a good sign that it's not anything major when it comes to Ayo Dosunmu. So, at the end of the day, these three guys, Jalen Smith, Ayo Dosunmu, Coby White, these are all guys that are very important to what. These aren't just back into the bench guys. These are key rotational players and starter for the Chicago Bulls. And so overall, you just want to be careful with that, especially when you didn't have as long of a period between games. Like we played Tuesday, we didn't play again until Saturday. We played yesterday, we played tomorrow. So because of that, the Bulls may even be throwing a little bit more caution into that when it comes down to it. And so it's all okay. It's going to be okay until it's not okay. And then at that point, we'll talk about it if it ends up being something a little bit more serious. And of course, wondering what the hell are the Chicago Bulls doing. But let's get to focusing on this game for the Chicago Bulls. This was a game where I want to start off with the player that looked the best, and you got to give some credit. The way that Zach LaVine looked in this game, it's Zach LaVine reminding people how damn good Zach LaVine can be. Now, I want to be clear here. The Memphis Grizzlies were down 6 out of their top 8 rotational players. 6 of those guys did not play in the game. So we were very much so playing against a bones, a garbage bin version of the Memphis Grizzlies. Like they were players that started for the Memphis Grizzlies in last night's game that may not even see the court when the regular season goes on. So, that just is what it is. I got to be fair and honest and bring that up as well. But Zach LaVine going 9 of 12 from the field, 28 points in 22 minutes, 6 of 6 from three-point range, also getting to the free throw line, 4 of 4 from there, 4 assists, 2 steals, only 1 turnover. Zach LaVine showed, and if anybody doubted or could not remember how damn good Zach LaVine could be as a scorer when he's needed, listen, Zach LaVine can be one of the better scorers in the game of basketball. That's not any ifs, ands, or buts. That's what Zach LaVine is. That's what he can be, and it's always what he's shown over the course of his NBA career. So put some respect on Zach LaVine's name. He continues to show why he is who he is and who he's been over his NBA career. And so that's really good to see from Zach LaVine. I'm proud of what Zach showed in that game. I'm glad that he continues to just show and remind people how good he can be. And so you need that Zach LaVine. Coming into the season, you're going to need that from Zach. You're going to need Zach LaVine to be the Zach LaVine that have come accustomed to seeing. You're going to need Zach LaVine to be the player that we know that he can be. You're going to need all those things to happen for Zach LaVine. So Zach showing out and showing what he can be, really good thing there. I'm not too mad at Zach LaVine. So yeah, I just wanted to give some love for Zach LaVine in that performance, because the way that Zach LaVine did perform yesterday is exactly what you want to see from Zach LaVine. Him and the chemistry that he's also working out with Josh Giddey, really good. While Josh Giddey didn't shoot the ball effectively, 3 of 10 from the field, he did score 11 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 blocks in that game, and you really started seeing how that chemistry between Zach and Josh Giddey could work out. Now, Josh Giddey, when it comes down to it, isn't shooting the ball too effectively. I do like that on a specific possession yesterday, the defense went underneath the screen on Josh Giddey, and he confidently took the 3 and made it. Now, he only went 1 for 4, so he missed his next 3, and we got to start looking at that form from Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey's shooting form needs some work, and while we have Peter Patton here, the OKC Thunder have one of the best shooting coaches in the world as well, and, the fact that Josh Giddey's shooting is a kind of more – it's gotten better every year, but the form in that is just something – he could tweak that. His body really leans in on the shot. He can fix that overall as well, but overall, 2 solid games for the great game from Zach LaVine. Solid game from Josh Giddey, definitely. And then Patrick Williams and Nikola Vucevic we'll get into here in a second, because I want to focus on the positive. Dalen Terry is another player. I see so much hate for Dalen Terry. Like, even after yesterday's game, somebody saying, well, Dalen Terry doesn't fit the young Bulls. What Dalen Terry are you watching? Dalen Terry played 25 minutes yesterday, went 4 of 7 from the field, and keep in mind, Dalen Terry's best ability isn't going to be his shooting. He did still score 11 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. The thing that you want to see from Dalen Terry, and I said this coming into the season, is his ability to stuff the stat sheet. Dalen Terry is playing a very similar role to like a Derrick Jones Jr., Javonte Green. It's energy, and he's bringing that. And Dalen Terry is also understanding how to stay on the court better. Like, we're talking about a Dalen Terry that in his first year looked like a deer in the headlights. And while he got a little bit better his second year, Dalen Terry so far through preseason looks like a guy that you can play on the court, that understands the versatility he brings defensively, understands how to play in transition, and the passes, right? Dalen Terry, with his 4 assists today, understood where to place the ball for his teammates, where they liked it, all that type of thing. Like, I don't understand the hate to Dalen Terry. I really just don't at this point. I don't understand the doubt. Like, yeah, I'm not saying that Dalen Terry is going to turn into some upper echelon starter for the Chicago Bulls, but you need guys like Dalen Terry on your team that know and understand how to perform, right? And Dalen Terry can stuff the stat sheet. He can do a little bit of everything. You need guys like that. And so some of the hate that I see on a player like Dalen Terry, I just don't understand, because I don't get, like, maybe it's because you guys have expectations that just isn't who Dalen Terry is, and that's fine, right? Who Dalen Terry is and how he's looking like a player that can stay on this court. But the one that shined, the player to me that deserves to be mentioned right up there with Zach LaVine's performance, is Julian Phillips. 7 of 12 from the field, 21 points in 27 minutes, 8 rebounds, 1 assist from him as well. Did have 2 turnovers. That's going to get underway. But the way that Julian Phillips played yesterday, he's showing that he's a player that is not just trying to get into the rotation. He's a player that you have to play. And, it showed that. He led the league in minutes off the bench. Led the team in minutes overall, not just off the bench. 27 minutes. He played the most minutes of any Bull yesterday. It's part of why his plus minus is -20 because he was out there for good runs and bad runs. But Julian Phillips, a player that came into the league, and I think people forget this with Julian Phillips. He would have been, he was one of the most recruited players coming out of high school. And yeah, they tweaked his shot. They tweaked his three-point shot, and that impacted him. Had he shot the ball better from three, he probably would have been a lottery pick. And so Julian Phillips is showing a lot. And when you pair that with how Modest Bucilis has looked as far as his activity and not backing down, I tell you what, Patrick Williams, Pat played some good defense. I got to give Patrick Williams credit for that. When he guarded up, he was playing small ball center. He actually guarded up pretty well. That added 15 pounds of muscle really showed out for him, 12 to 15 pounds of muscle, really showed yesterday and how he was able to guard centers, and I got to give Patrick Williams credit for that. But offensively, it's been dog shit for Patrick Williams. And when you have players like Modest Bucilis, who did go 1 of 9, his shooting was bad yesterday. He still found ways to impact the game. He doesn't back down defensively. And then you got a player like Julian Phillips, who does bring a lot of the same versatility that Patrick Williams does, not on ball. He brings some shot blocking, those type of things, the ability to run the court because he is going to run the court. He's athletic. He's not going to back down. I tell you what, Patrick Williams got to step up because if he doesn't, you got some guys behind you that are trying to take that position. But Julian Phillips played a really good game in the way that he understood how to operate in space, the way that he understood when to take off completely running or when to slash to the bucket, when to taking that three-point shot confidently. All those things looked really good for Julian Phillips as well. You got to give the young man credit for that. And Modest Bucilis, while only going 1 of 9 from the field, had some really good defensive moments in this game as well. Didn't get register any steals. Did register a block shot, which was on Zach Edey. But outside of that, Modest Bucilis showed a lot as well as far as just his ability to not back down. Torrey Craig played 18 minutes in this game as well. He looked solid, went 2 of 6 from the field, but really did look good in his minutes out there defensively and other things. And THT in the fourth quarter of this game, all 16 of his points coming in the fourth quarter. He ends up going 4 or 5 from the free throw line as well, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block as well. THT is showing that he may have that final roster spot over Ernest Batum, who didn't even check into this game. No EJ Liddell, no Kenny Lofton Jr., because those guys are probably destined for the G League. Adama Sanogo only played 5 minutes, which in a game where we're missing Jalen Smith, you would hope to play. So this kind of shows me Billy Donovan's probably not going to play Adama Sanogo this year, and that sucks, right? That's a little bit of concern there. Chris Duarte sucked. 4 minutes from Chris Duarte, 4 turnovers in 4 minutes and 3 fouls. That's crazy. That's wild in 4 minutes. And people were here telling me that Chris Duarte was going to be still in that trade. But overall, like I said, the young players really stepped up for the Bulls, showed what we needed to see from them, and we continue moving in the right direction. And let's see what they bring in the game tomorrow. Now, with that said, it is Sunday, so it's Mailbag Day here at Chicago Bulls Central. Let's get into this first voicemail. This one's from the 224.
Yo, what's up, Haize? I love your fucking content. You're always saying how much you do for us. You got content every day, and that's true as shit, man. I've been watching your shit since the start. I got a question. This is probably stupid, but I haven't even looked into it, but I'm just thinking, just watch the preseason game. Josh Giddey played like shit. Is it possible the Bulls traded Caruso for Giddey because they're trying to use him as some sort of sweetener with Zach LaVine to try and get him out of there? Because Ayo played so good. I mean, he is obviously ready to start. I don't know how they don't see that. Anyways, I appreciate your stuff, man. Yeah, thank you.
Could Josh Giddey be used as a trade sweetener? Here's the thing. I don't believe that that's the case. Now, could AK, that would take a level of a focus from AK that I don't think we've seen a lot from AK. Like, I don't think that AK got Josh Giddey just so he can be used as a trade sweetener. And I think you're a little rough on him saying he sucked in that first preseason game. Rough first half, but he didn't suck in the second half of that game. I think that the Bulls are committed to Josh Giddey, seeing what they have in Josh Giddey. And I do think that Josh Giddey is still going to get a second contract with the Bulls regardless. Now, I don't necessarily know that that's going to peg him in to be a starter. We'll see what happens there. Because if Ayo and Kobe keep looking like a better backcourt, eventually maybe you just got to answer that. But I still have faith in Josh Giddey and how he's going to turn out for this Bulls team. The chemistry with Zach's there. I do think if Jalen Smith was in the starting lineup, like over a Vooch, you could see a lot there. But I don't think that Josh Giddey's just there to be a trade sweetener. I just don't believe that. But hey, we'll see what happens. A great voicemail. Next time, leave your name as well. But I hope to hear from you again. All right, let's get into this next one. This one's from 8 Lives.
What's going on, Haize? This is 8 Lives. I'm back, man, ready for the season, man. I just want to get right to it. I was one of the ones that always said I didn't blame AK for what happened. I know other people had other opinions, but I'm still in that same mind frame. Only because of the way I see things. But I just want to give AK's props. I definitely liked the move of getting rid of DeMar and Alice Cruz. So, I think they quietly got rid of DeMar for Zach. That's just my opinion. I think this is what, I think that they knew that this is kind of what Zach probably wanted, in my opinion. I also like AK pickups. He always get, athletic guys. He don't know how it's going to work out, but, I know that new rookie dude, he looking good. I can't say if the Bulls going to develop him or not because, frankly, we're not at their practices. We don't know what these assistant coaches and what these coaches saying to these people. It's one thing to see them on TV playing the game, but at the end of the day, it's hard for me to say that they won't develop because I don't know what these guys telling them. It can be one thing you can tell somebody that can help their game once they get in the game. The playing time is something different. I would love to see Modest in a new center from Indiana start because Vooch is a little slow. I ain't mad at Vooch, but I just think Vooch needs to stay in the layup line this year more than anything. All them tips and putbacks he was missing, all them close layups is not good. What won't be good for this team. I think we got a good team, and I do like some of AK moves that he made. As usual I do. So I just want to say C-Red. I see Kobe. He probably could score 30 if he wanted to, just off the back taking those shots from DeMar. He don't look like he's doing no stopping. I just want to give a big thumbs up to Zach too for saying what he said, and he totally convinced me. He ain't thinking about the past. Let's just play ball now. I believe in that. I'm not even really trying to hear nothing about no Zach trade because all the Zach trade was straight cap. And when I say cap, I mean we was never getting nothing good. So why would I keep entertaining that? So I just want Zach to stay and play and prove himself now that DeMar's gone. And I'm ready for the season, man. Everything looking good. I wish Madas could start over Patrick Williams because I know the NBA is going to give Madas his fouls. I ain't gonna say why, but I just know if he started, that'd be a great lineup to get our fouls. Kobe might get more foul calls this year. I know Madas to get his. He got a distinctive game as far as, being tall and lanky. You can kind of see him getting fouled. It'd be hard to kind of not give him his fouls. Star Madas over Patrick Williams because Madas is aggressive. And I think Patrick want to play off the bench. I don't see why we keep forcing him to start. Let somebody else play. That's how you find out what you have. But I already know the rookie thing is going to be the rookie, but he's like one of those type of players that I feel like you were saying, if somebody cooked him, that's going to make him, come back harder. He's a powerful player. So, C-Red, hope everything work out this year. We should just, like you all been saying, at least have some fun watching these games. But it looks like they're going to be winning more games than some people might think. All right, C-Red, my boy.
Listen, very interesting question in regards to the young players. And I think we got to start looking at this as well, is that while we've doubted AK's ability to draft, with the way that Dalen's looking, with the way that Julian Phillips looking, how they really look like they are players that can contribute this year. Modest Bucilis, if he does end up being a steal, Io's already worked out. Like, I think Io's a starting caliber player, even though he's not starting for the Bulls. Do we have to start changing the narrative on AK's draft history, right? And that's why, like, you have to reevaluate drafts in the short term and the immediate, right? But then also look at him long term. Now, Patrick Williams is still Patrick Williams, but I think you just raised an interesting question there on if Julian Phillips ends up looking like a player that can stick around. God forbid if he ends up starting for the Chicago Bulls at some point this season and he contributes big time, I think you have to look at that, right? And if Dalen Terry ends up being a player that brings that energy and things like that, we may be in a position where we got to start kind of reevaluating how we look at what AK has done in the draft. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen for sure, but I do think that that's something that we could eventually have to look at when it's all said and done. Now, Modest Bucilis, listen, I think that Modest Bucilis is just, because of the way that he's active, because of the way that he moves out there, because he doesn't back down from anyone, because he does get out in transition. One thing you don't have to worry about with Modest Bucilis is his aggressiveness. And I do think that listen, Modest could end up getting a start, could end up starting over P. Will. A lot of things could end up happening. P. Will has to bring it. And if he doesn't, it's going to be a tall test for him to hold on to a starting position. Now, P. Will is still a player that can contribute. Shooting 40% from three-point range, being able to be the defender that he can, guarding multiple positions, there's always going to be a spot for P. Will on a team. And that could be this Bulls team as well. But when you look at your starter and your upside and the player that can bring it, this player that has star-level potential to be able to be more, Modest Bucilis is bringing all of that, and Julian Phillips is starting to knock on that door of being able to bring more of that consistently as well, and that's also something that you have to look at. So we'll see how that develops overall for this Bulls team as well, and that is a storyline coming into this season. All right, let's get into this next voicemail as well. This one is from Jamal.
What's up, Haize? It's your boy Jamal back again. Another video voicemail for you. 3 minutes, let's get into it. So really want to talk about two delays specifically, based off the first game the Bulls had in preseason. First one being Patrick Green, second one being Mailbag Bucilis. Let's start with P. Will. First game, that man played maybe 13 minutes. It wasn't even really a full. It was a little over. It was a full quarter in a minute, right? That he, I think, played out of that whole entire game. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see nothing that impressed me or nothing that gave me any type of hope that he's gonna change his playing style. And as I called in and told you this in the beginning of the off season when we knew about the trades and stuff going on between, DeMar DeRozan and Zach and all the stuff that was happening. As I stated, and many people have stated, there's no excuses moving into this season. This is his fourth, fifth season in the league. You got an extension. There's no excuses. I don't care that Zach is still on the team. I don't care that Jacoby's taking this giant leap. I don't care Ayo Dosunmu's taking this leap. If P. Will does not come out the gate aggressive, and I'm not saying that he has to be a 30-point per game scorer, but if he doesn't come out here with a clear-cut vision of I've improved, I'm more aggressive, I'm trying to score. I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying he has to be a ball hog, but I need to see progression. I need to see that he really wants this. And if he's not trying to do that, he doesn't need to be on this team. Because you have the most freedom now. Like, literally, they got rid of DeMar. We don't know what's going on with Zach. He's throwing things now, but it doesn't seem like he's out there to try to be a ball hog and everything like that. You have the freedom to make that decision to say, you know what, this is just as much as my team as it is theirs. I need to get at least 10, 12, 15 shots up a night and everything like that, get shots. You were averaging 10 points last year. I need that to be increased to 15, 16 points this season at the bare minimum. I need you to be a consistent scorer while playing defense and being an impact on offense, not just defense. So he's going to have to get his shit together. But again, first game of the preseason, let's see how he goes and things like that. Secondly, Mailbag Bucilis. That boy has that dog in him. I don't know what it is. Every time he gets on the court, I'm excited to see what he's going to do because he does not have any fear. He looks like he enjoys going up against like just the talent of the NBA, and he has no fear. And like you stated, in the summer league, there were clear cut visions. I'm not saying that he clear cut problems that he had on defense. It looks like he's at least working to get past them. I can't wait to see what he does in this season. Any chance he could win Rookie of the Year? I know it's a stretch, but hey, let me know what your think is on how he might end up in the Rookie of the Year race. As always, see where it go, Bulls. Peace.
Listen, P. Will has to step it up, bro. He just has to step it up. I don't know any other way that you can overlook that. P. Will has to be better than what he is right now. He just does. He has to be better. And like I said, I gave him his credit for how he played defensively in last night's game. It was much better defensively. But I think you also got to look at P. Will for what he's like. The thing with P. Will is much like I talk about with Braxton Jones on the Bears, he just hasn't gotten better. And people will say, oh, well, he needs to be. It's the same exact production, the same efficiency numbers, the same everything. It's the same exact him playing at the 3 and the 4. It's the exact same. So it's all with mentality when it comes for Patrick Williams. And it's just the fact that he has just not gotten better for real. He's the same player. And that player is still a player, as I said, that can stick around on a lot of NBA teams. But you just want more than that from your 4th overall pick. And other players, Ayo has grown more than Patrick Williams in the same amount of time. Julian Phillips is showing more growth from his first year to his second year right now than what Patrick Williams has shown in year 1 to year 4, right? So you want to see those things start growing for Patrick Williams, and he has to step up. Because if he's not, as you said, Mailbag Bucilis is a dog. And this is a guy that I don't think you can hold off. And you got to, at some point, think about starting because of the way that he's able to bring it. And so with Julian, with Mata stepping up, listen, P. Will, he got to look because our forward combination of the future may end up being Julian Phillips and Matas Busilis at the 3 and the 4 respectively. It very well may end up being that. And if that's the case, Patrick Williams ain't got nothing but to look at himself with. And so we'll see how that grows and develop. Overall, though, when it comes to Matas Busilis, I love his game. I love the way that he's developing. I love what he's showing as well. I just think that we got to see it all come together for Matas Busilis. And we haven't yet, right? But I do think that he's a guy to see that, listen, Matas Busilis is probably going to be a steal. He's probably going to be a steal, in my opinion. And yeah, we'll see. I don't think he's going to have a chance at Rookie of the Year unless he gets into the starting lineup or anything like that. But I do think he has a chance to start for this Bulls team, especially considering how things are going. And Matas Busilis is a player that's working on his issues. And by that, and that's one thing that Patrick Williams hasn't really done. Matas Busilis, you can already see how he's grown as an on-ball defender from Summer League to now. He's grown as an on-ball defender. And this is a guy that I think he's not going to spend a lot of time in the G League, if at all, and he shouldn't, because Matas Busilis needs those NBA minutes so he can show what he can bring, in my opinion. All right, let's get into this last voicemail. This one's from Shay.
Yo, what's up, Haize? This is Shay. Look, man, I know a lot of people was talking about Patrick Williams and being passive, but y'all got to remember something. The man recently just got off injury. Now, look, I know what you're going to say. Oh, he just had the surgery a long time ago. But you remember the report that we had that him still feeling kind of cautious with that foot, and that's before the preseason even started. I think in the first game, it was more of a mental thing for him. Like, he was being aggressive, but, like, it was more of a mental thing for him, especially when you know that you've been hurt that many times. And I guess that he was being very gingerly, not since he knew that it was preseason. Now, that's not still no excuse, but I think that was more the reason than anything, you know, especially with him coming off an injury and then, you know, him having a smaller setback. I think that it was more of a mental thing in the first game, but I could be wrong. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
Much like I said in the last one, the problem with Patrick Williams is he just hasn't progressed. Yeah, he's come into it with the injury, and that could absolutely affect his slow start. Absolutely, and I want to give him credit for that, right? That could affect him, and he could very well hit the ground running and be better once the season starts, and I hope that he can. But if he's not, like, we got to see what our eyes are showing us. Patrick Williams hasn't really progressed any at all. And so when you throw out the cat, and you even said it in your voicemails, like, he just needs to be better, and he's not better. How much more excuses can you give P. Will? Eventually, P. Will has to want it, and he has to step up. And it's really the thing that hurts so much about P. Will is mainly just mentality. It's mainly just mentality. I believe P. Will has the skill to do it. I believe he has the physical presence to be able to do it. But it's just the mentality and the aggression level. And let's see what that comes down to with P. Will, man. But great voicemail, Shay. That's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.